The stage rattled over frozen earth as Eleanor Chambers pressed her gloved hands against the frosted window, watching white death descend from heaven in sheets so thick she could barely see 3 feet ahead. February 1885 had brought the worst blizzard California had seen in decades, and she was caught in the middle of it, miles from anywhere, with a driver who looked more nervous with each passing minute. "Miss, we cannot go on," the driver shouted over the howling wind that shook their carriage. "The horses are about done. We will freeze if we do not find shelter soon." Eleanor pulled her wool coat tighter, her breath misting in the frigid air despite the blankets piled around her. She had been traveling from San Francisco to meet her uncle in Paso Robles, California, where he supposedly ran a successful mercantile. The letter promising her employment and a fresh start after her parents' deaths 6 months ago had seemed like a miracle. Now it felt like a cruel joke as nature unleashed its fury. "How far are we from town?" she asked, though she already knew the answer would not be good. "At least 20 miles, maybe more. I lost my bearings an hour back." The driver's voice cracked with fear. "Wait, I see something. Looks like a fence line." Eleanor peered through the white chaos and saw dark posts emerging from the snow like grave markers. Where there was fencing, there had to be property, and where there was property, there might be shelter. The alternative was freezing to death in this stagecoach, and at 22 years old, she had too much life ahead of her to accept that fate. The driver urged the exhausted horses forward, following the fence line. Minutes felt like hours as the cold seeped deeper into Eleanor's bones. Her toes had gone numb inside her boots. Just when she thought they would never find anything, a dark shape materialized through the blizzard. A ranch house, sturdy and substantial, with smoke rising from its chimney. "Thank God," the driver breathed, steering the horses toward salvation. Before they reached the hitching post, the front door swung open, and a figure emerged, tall and broad-shouldered, moving with purpose through the knee-deep snow. Eleanor could barely make out details through the storm, but she saw the rifle he carried and felt a momentary flutter of fear. Then she remembered that a bullet would be quicker than freezing, and perhaps more merciful. The man reached the stagecoach and yanked open the door, letting in a blast of frigid air that stole Eleanor's breath. Ice clung to his dark beard, and his gray eyes were sharp beneath the brim of his snow-covered hat. He was perhaps 30 years old, with the weathered look of someone who had spent his life outdoors, his face carved by sun and wind into something stern yet striking. "Get inside now," he commanded, his voice brooking no argument. "You have maybe 10 minutes before frostbite sets in." He did not wait for her response, simply reached in and pulled her from the carriage, his strength evident as he lifted her like she weighed nothing. Eleanor gasped at the cold that hit her exposed face, the wind cutting like knives. The cowboy half carried, half dragged her through the snow toward the house while shouting at the driver to get the horses to the barn. They stumbled through the door into blessed warmth, and Eleanor nearly collapsed. The cowboy caught her, guiding her to a chair near the massive stone fireplace where flames danced and crackled, throwing heat that felt like heaven against her frozen skin. "Do not get too close too fast," he warned, pulling the chair back a few feet. "You warm up too quick, you will hurt worse. Trust me." Eleanor nodded, her teeth chattering so hard she could not speak. The cowboy disappeared and returned moments later with thick wool blankets that smelled of pine and leather. He wrapped them around her efficiently, then knelt to remove her boots. His hands were large and calloused, but surprisingly gentle as he examined her feet through her stockings. "Wiggle your toes," he ordered. She tried, managing slight movement. Relief crossed his hard features. "Good. No frostbite yet. Keep them elevated." He grabbed a footstool and positioned her feet on it, then draped another blanket over them. Only then did Eleanor get her first real look at her rescuer and his home. The ranch house was well built and surprisingly neat for a bachelor dwelling, which she assumed it was since she saw no evidence of a woman's touch. The furniture was simple but well made, the floor swept clean, and the kitchen area organized. Elk antlers hung over the fireplace, and a bearskin rug covered part of the floor. Everything spoke of a man who took pride in his space. The cowboy himself was removing his heavy coat, revealing broad shoulders beneath a wool shirt and vest. He moved with the easy confidence of someone comfortable in his own skin, someone who knew exactly who he was and felt no need to prove anything. His dark hair was slightly too long, curling at his collar, and that beard gave him a wild look that should have frightened her but somehow did not. "You got a name?" he asked, hanging his coat on a peg by the door. "Eleanor Chambers," she managed, her voice still shaky. "Thank you for taking us in. We would have died out there." "Yes, you would have." His bluntness was startling. "I am Emmett Kane. This is my ranch, the Frozen Creek. Been here 5 years, and I have never seen a storm like this. What fool decided to travel in this weather?" "The storm was not supposed to be this bad," Eleanor defended, feeling color return to her cheeks.